Hello. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about something that seems mundane but has a lot of flexibility. The topic is, of course, how you can add users to Dundas BI. In a basic setup, a system administrator might add users to a tool like Dundas BI manually, which could be fine. But there's actually a lot of cases where manual addition of users would be an absolute pain. What if you had 1,000 people who needed access? There's so many ways that you can deal with users in a robust system like Dundas BI that it's worth discussing. Let's check it out. I'm Jeff, and this is Off the Charts with Jeff. Now, before I jump into security, there is one thing that you should know. Did you hear about the two monkeys who shared an Amazon Prime account? They were primates. Get it? Primates. All right, forget it. Specifically with users, I'm going to give you 6 ways that you can add people to Dundas BI to provide them with access. The first is a good old-fashioned way. You go to the administrator screen and type in all your users' information. The problem, as I mentioned before, is that this doesn't scale well. So if you have many people, I doubt you want to hire a full-time employee just to add and remove people from your BI tool as your staff changes. This is absolutely fine in a small setting though. Now, Active Directory is often one of the easiest ways to get many users into Dundas BI quickly. I found a report from 2019, a bit dated now, but it showed that 95% of Fortune 500 companies use Active Directory for security, and it's probably safe to assume that you're using it too. Now, instead of manually adding all your users, one easy way to do this is to add your users via Active Directory and then add a group to Dundas BI. You can see that I've done this for a special group in Active Directory called Domain Users, which includes everyone, because I wanted to give all Dundas BI employees access to this server. For those users to log in, all they have to do is use their Windows credentials. You can also do single sign-on, SSO, with Windows Authentication. And basically your users won't have to enter any explicit authentication because they're already logged into their PC. That session's open. So they just navigate to the instance URL and they can be taken directly to the home screen. Easy for everybody. And this is absolutely great for integration needs. Now, Federated Authentication is another way to have users log in from an external source. This setup would be the same as how, a lot of online services like Spotify will allow you to log in via your Google or your Facebook account. Federated authentication behaves like single sign-on, enabling users to access multiple services without the need for further authentication. Authentication is possible with this using SAML 2.0, OpenID Connect, Google, Microsoft, and other protocols. In cases where Windows or federated authentication isn't desired, another form of authentication that can be used is a custom accounts provider. Now, what you would do is you would use the API to create one of these that would manage all the users and authentication. And this is done by creating a Dundas BI .NET extension that has a class that extends something called extension package info and implements this iAccounts provider 2 interface. This would allow a single sign-on, and you can have all the login controlled from your extension. Basically, you build a plugin, and it'll connect to any security system you want. Now, if you're embedding Dundas BI into a third-party application, something you might want to handle is the login within your own application. As an example, you have a user who logs into your system. You now know who they are and everything about them. So what you do is you get Dundas BI API to first check if that user exists in the system. And if they don't, you create a user for them and of course set the password. Maybe just generate something that you would never give to them. Once the account's been created, log them in, and specifically, you would hand them something called a login token, which is a one-time key that's generated to give users access to have an active session. You're not really giving them the token, you just pass them to the URL. If you're familiar with login tokens, you've probably seen this architecture before. But having this flexibility through API is really handy. And finally, the last login method that you could use is the anonymous login. Who cares about security, right? Well, what I mean by that is you may have public content and you might want to let users in who are guests. This is supported too. So as you can see, you do have options in Dundas BI when it comes to user authentication and security. And if you're looking to learn a little bit more, I do have 2 videos that I'd recommend checking out. The first would be how to embed Dundas BI in a third-party web page, which is a great pragmatic guide to embedding. The second would be Federated Authentication 101, where I actually show you how to set up Dundas BI using Federated Authentication. So both definitely worth checking out. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.